Meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's August 19th at 7:33 p.m. Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Decker,
Here.
Director Harvey,
Here.
Director Lohman,
Here.
Director Slater Carter.
Present.
I know that I'm supposed to open with a president's statement, and then I was going to read what was next on the agenda, and my agenda is showing all blank pages. So I'm going to welcome everyone. I'm going to observe that we are still, the whole state, the whole country is in a state of water disruption. And as always, Montara has long set the standard for using water well and wisely on the coast. We encourage everyone to conserve. The governor has issued a directive about everyone conserving even more, which is always fun for the communities like ours that conserve already. It's like, well, we can squeeze it, but we've been squeezing for a while. But you never know how long a drought is going to be, and we need to be prepared to weather some long ones. And historically, California has experienced some droughts that have been a decade long or longer. So even though we're pretty well situated for now, let's treat it like we don't have any real clear idea on how long this might last. We know that our community is up for it, has done a very good job in the past. So hang in there, and we're all in this together. Let's go forward. Do we have oral comments from anyone for items not on the agenda? I see Rick's hand, Catherine's hand. Let's go in that order. Rick?
Just a quick question. Montara took the initiative a while ago to talk to Caltrans, and not Caltrans. Yeah, Caltrans, about the Caltrans property, and copied everybody in the world. Quick question. Have we had any responses from anybody on our offer to help alleviate the fire danger and everything?
Yes, I believe that should have been in your inbox. There was a response sent from Caltrans to our president, essentially acknowledging the letter and stating that Caltrans will actually take action this year. I think it was in September that they're going to do some maintenance on the property. I'm going to make sure that you have it on top of the list of emails and send it out to you as soon as I can once more.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
I'll note that not only we, but some of the folks here in town referenced one house that had been used for some unauthorized activities. There had been some concern about power line being connected, even though the house had been obviously clearly abandoned. I went by the other day. I saw that there was no power connection. Everything had been severed, and the power drop had been removed. And in fact, the post at the house had been torn off and was laying on the ground. You can see where they had cut the wires. So somebody did something, and that's in better shape now, because illegally hooked up electrical is not going to be a cause of a problem there. And without running wires up to the pole, no one's going to get that house reconnected. So that was good to see. At first, it looked like somebody had come in and done some damage, and I'm like, oh yeah, they did, the good kind. So, okay, Catherine, you had your hand up.
Yeah, two things. Well, one thing. I was at the California Association of Sewer Agencies meeting and last week, and there was a presentation on the Paradise Fire by the city manager. The speed at which that fire was moving was beyond comprehension. It was like 80 football fields. I've forgotten an hour. It was just an enormous amount of space. And I just want, so they were able to knock on doors to get people out for the most part. But I just thought I wanted to say tonight to everybody who's watching, have your valuables, have your precious things that you can pack in your car ready to go. Because when they say evacuate, they don't mean tomorrow. So things that are important to you, records, photos, whatever else, put them in a chest, put them in plastic boxes. For the summertime, keep them close at hand so you can get them into your car, because once those houses, there's nothing left. And it really is being brought home right now by the Cauldron Fire near Highway 50 and the other fires that are going on in California. People are getting warned and they have to get out. If you have things that are precious, have your dog crates ready. Have your chicken crate ready if you've got chickens that you want to take with you. Some years ago, the state legislature made it so that you can take your animals to emergency centers with you. Prior to that, you wouldn't have been able to. So it's all of these things are important, and being ready is the most important thing right now. Something like that will not be stopped by a fire hydrant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Greg?
I also had written Caltrans, and Vic Abity had sent them a certified letter about that house. They wrote us back, or at least me, and said, everything's fine, all the utilities have been cut off. So Scott, to your point, somebody must have changed something, because Vic had submitted photos. So, but they otherwise said, we're not going to do anything about removing eucalyptus. All we're going to do is limb up some of the trees and remove the underbrush. So from the point of view, at least the El Granada community and this MCC member, I don't view that response as adequate, because there's a big eucalyptus groves, and to me, they look too close to the Montara assets. And just as a point of order, the longest droughts in California were in the Middle Ages at 141 and 220 years. That was before climate change. I can send you the articles. Thanks.
Oh.
Catherine?
And I have one more comment. There is a bill at the California State Assembly. You can find out about these bills at livablecalifornia.org. They are to take away single-family zoning from counties and cities and make ministerial permits for adding up to 8 residences on a single lot. SB 10 would take away the legality of any neighborhood or community passed ordinances for open space or other things that protect our neighborhoods from overcrowding, and allow the creation of a 10-unit apartment building. That is a 10-fold increase in water and sewer demand. That is an eightfold increase. So please go to livablecalifornia.com and write your legislature. Thank you.
Catherine, do you know who's sponsoring those?
Yeah, Scott Weiner and Tony Atkins.
If you can send me a link, then I can forward it to the full board, Catherine.
Please, I will do that right now.
I'm particularly interested in the money behind that.
It's the big investment agencies, the REITs. There is no word in either SB 9 or SB 10 about affordability of these units. So they are not for affordable housing. The philosophy, Greg, as somebody who has studied business, you'll appreciate this. If you increase the supply of housing, the prices will drop. That's what they're thinking. I haven't noticed it work that way with a whole lot of different things. So but it is being sponsored by the real estate industry. And I repeat, it takes away the ability of the county to have any control over what size unit goes in on a single family lot. And it also, in talking to CASA, and I'll ask Christine to speak to this maybe during the attorney's report, there are things that the legislature has done in the past that take away the ability of sewer and water districts to fund what's needed to make these kinds of additions to the community. It appears, and I'll speak to this more, but our legislature doesn't really care what it costs people to live in this state. They just want to cram us in on an incredible drought. Greg, you can go back to your picture of the Salton Sea or whatever it is, because that's what we're going to be looking at. And so far, all I've heard is put in desal. But that's a whole heck of a lot of money.
Greg,
So
I see your hand still up, Greg. Do you intend?
I'm sorry, but Catherine reminded me, I wrote every senator and assembly person about these bills a week or two ago. I can post by letter or email it to you if you're interested. I also wrote an article on this back in May, but I wanted to make you aware, I just got a copy of the Bosco reply to the ABAG EIR. Scott, you'd warned me about ABAG a while back. In order to justify the regional housing needs assessment goals, they had to file an EIR. And it was absolutely astounding to read Bosco's reply. In essence, ABAG totally ignored the Bay Delta plan, just pretended it didn't exist. And of course, that's the thing that's threatening a 59% cutback for most of the Bay Area water agencies, not Montara, but others. So if you want a copy of the ABAG EIR reply, I just was astounded, but that's the degree to which they're pushing for housing without any concern for the cost of the water or the lifestyle of the people who live here.
Well, that really kicks off our meeting with a special flair. Let's go to, we have on the consent agenda approving minutes for May 20th, June 3rd, July 1st, July 17th, and our special meeting on July 28th. Approving the financial statements for June, approving the warrants, or what we commonly think of as the checks, for August 19th, the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Flow Report for June, the monthly review of the current investment portfolio, the connection permit applications received, the monthly water production report, the rain report, the monthly solar energy report, and the monthly public agency retirement service report for May. Can I have a motion, please? Or does anybody need to pull anything for discussion?
I'd like to pull the flow report and the rain report, just for discussion.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the rest?
So moved.
Second.
So I've got a motion from Rick, second from Catherine. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, all but items, that would be items 4 and, what was that, the rain report, Catherine?
The rain report and the flow report.
Okay, so items 4 and 8 not approved, but all the rest of the consent agenda approved 5-0. Let's talk about those, Catherine.
Okay, I wanted to mention that the flow report shows that Half Moon Bay is at 61.2% flow during the average dry weather during the last month. And their flow is, it's out of 100% of the flow, so they're not, and they're paying for it, of course, fortunately. But I think the question is, all this development in Half Moon Bay, what is going on? And I just wanted the public to be aware that they're paying for the operations for 61.2, but they're only paying for 50% of the equipment and the upgrades to the plant, while they're consuming 61.2%. The other is the rain report. And do people want to discuss the flow report, or that's my comment anyway. Not seeing anybody.
No, it's good to know, Catherine, that just to keep watching this all the time, because a lot of the flows are down because everybody's trying to conserve water, and this ties into possibly the SAM problem with the BOD problem, because the flows are getting a lot lower. But it's significant that Half Moon Bay keeps going up, and their brand new hotel hasn't even come online yet. So.
Right. And then moving to the rain report, a quick aside, I happened to see Lou Wall walking the other day, and so we had a lovely chat. Hopefully he will get his computer so he can sign in on Zoom and be joining us more often. But he pointed out that for the rain report, we've had more fog in the last month as precipitation than we had in rain for the 2 months previous. And I just thought I would mention that fog is good, and it's measurable, and that's good news. Just
We
that.
love fog. So do the redwoods.
I'll put that up real quick. Although my machine's not making it real quick, but it could be coming soon. You can see the graphic from the staff report. So Catherine, I think this is what you're saying. This is all these small amounts here are probably all fog, or at least most.
Most, yeah.
The thing I would highlight is down here in the yellow. That's this year, and last year, which was not a wet year, that's this one, and I guess that's green. And a year before that, we had, so that was 17 inches last year. We're at 13, not even 13 and a half yet this year. And then in 19, it was over 29, almost 30 inches. And the average is 32. So in the past 3 years, we haven't even hit the average. But this year we're looking like we'll be good if we hit half the average. So if we have nothing further on those two items, can I have a motion to approve those two?
So
So moved.
a second.
Oh, I totally missed who said that. I'm going to make it up. I'm going to say Peter and Catherine.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Present. Or I'm sorry, yes. My mind is wandering clearly.
Voting present is an option, but it would be really weird for the consent agenda. All right,
Yeah.
the motion carries. Items 4 and 8 are approved 5-0. We have no old business tonight. We have new business. It is review and possible action concerning California Asset Management Program, CAMP, additional investment option, and revisions to district investment and reserve policies allowing CAMP as investment option.
Thank you, Scott. I wanted to thank Peter for bringing this up to our attention once again, and also helping with the implementation. We have been in need for essentially a place to park our water reserves, if you so want. a point where we do need actually, I think a good place where we put most of what comes into the water system reliability charges until it is used. And for that purpose, we are planning to utilize CAMP. And before.
To Peter.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry, I have a dog running around. So we talked about this when the approval of the water reliability charge last year, and as the money has been coming in, kind of bringing it back to the forefront. Now that the fiscal year has ended and we have a whole year's worth of activity for both revenue in as well as our capital improvement program. As you guys know, the way we budget our CIP for water doesn't always hold true in terms of the activities for that year for various reasons, delays and other items. But what we're seeing this year is that CIP was far below budget, so we have this additional cash on hand, and it is water reliability charges. And I think that this is going to allow us to have better transparency to say that, yes, this money is not just parked in our operational funds, that it actually is broken out, separated, and placed into its own separate account into which we can then reimburse operations for the cost of these various projects that are ongoing throughout the year. We had talked about it throughout the year because I said it will require some discussion as far as the frequency for reimbursement and a couple other items. But I mean, really, that's the main one. Holding onto the fund separately, not only in a GL fund, which is helpful, but to actually separate those funds to a separate account that's separate from our operational accounts. Camp earns a little bit better than Chase and Wells Fargo, not tremendously right now, not as well as Leif, but it's not that far off. So all things considered, I think just in terms of safety and transparency, I think this is an excellent idea to just move the funds out of our operational accounts and be able to show the ratepayers that it's not just funds that just fell into operations and we're going to utilize them as such. I really like the idea, and I'm glad that we are making this move to join camp. Because unfortunately, we can't have two Leif accounts. That would have been ideal, but we can only have one. So this is the next best option in my mind. Clemens, is there anything else you want me to cover?
Thank you. Maybe we hand it back to the board and see if there are questions to answer.
Peter, I know you have questions.
I think this is a very good idea because we saw that more money was coming in and sitting in our account, and it is absolutely crucial that we pay close attention to the development of these funds. We have instituted the water reliability charge and we intend to use it. So this is a good solution that Peter has come up with, and I thank him for that.
Did you have any observations on camp itself? I'm guessing you looked into it.
Other than what Peter said, that they are lower than Leif and higher than Wells and Chase in terms of the interest, but then again, we are now in a period of time where the interest is really not very high. So the funds there are not that substantial.
Right. They're an established and mature fund since '89, I believe they were established. They follow the same principles as LAVE in terms of security of principal and liquidity. They offer, I want to say it's the exact same in terms of requests for funds. If they're in by 11 a.m., they will be funded that day. If it's afterwards, then you have to wait until the next day. But like I said, in terms of the functionality of it, it is very similar to LAIF.
I'm just looking at the Board of Trustees. It's made up of
All public employees.
public employees from San Joaquin, Merced County, Modesto City Schools, City of Palm Desert, Siskiyou County, San Diego Association of Governments, and Inland Empire's Utilities Agency. Do we have any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Well, it's going to be complex, right? We've got several things to do. We have, the first would be to adopt a resolution next in order authorizing revisions to the district's reserve policy. Is that what you wish to move?
That's my motion.
So we have a motion and a second from Peter. Let's do a roll call vote on each of these separately. Tracy, could we do the first one?
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Harvey,
Jim?
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Aye.
Okay. The resolution authorizing revisions to the district's reserve policy passes 5-0. Can I have a motion for the resolution next in order authorizing revisions to the district's investment policy?
So moved.
I second.
Catherine and Jim. Tracy, can we go again? Roll call vote.
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion authorizing revisions to the district's investment policy passes 5-0. And thirdly, resolution next in order authorizing the district to join with other public agencies as a participant in the California Asset Management Trust.
So moved.
I second.
So that goes to Catherine and Peter. And one more time, Tracy.
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
So by a vote of 5-0, the district is authorized to join with other public agencies as a participant of the California Asset Management Trust. I too would like to thank Peter Clemens and Peter. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you for looking into it. And I know from talking to Clemens earlier in the week, the preparation for this, the drafting of all of these changes, quite a bit of work. This is a fine example of good local government paying attention very carefully to the P's and Q's to manage the money well. And it's a pleasure to have your insight and your work on this to be able to vote aye to. Thank you very much for doing that.
And I will simply second what Scott has said. I think this district can't be anything without financial security, and the work that has gone into this by Peter Clemens and Peter is important and lasting work, deep things.
All right. Let's go to reports. Sewer Authority Midcoast side. Catherine?
I can take that. We had one real item, which was the financial reports through the year, and everything looked pretty good, so that was approved. After closed session, they had a comment that Sam has closed out and agreed to one of the lawsuits by a former employee who was let go during the reorganization. And that's all been settled and closed out permanently now. So that was a big step, and that'll help reduce legal fees at SAM. That's it.
Anything to add, Catherine?
Nope. There hasn't been a whole lot going on at SAM in terms of interesting outside of SAM kind of stuff.
Right. Can I ask, what is the status of option 1, 2, and 3?
That will be discussed on Monday.
Okay.
Please join us.
Okay.
I believe Christine will tell us that we can have every single member of our board who's not on SAM observing SAM. You just can't tell us what to do.
As if we ever could. I wanted to mention Sam has been battling some issues with the treatment facility, dealing with things happening and what's coming into the plant. I just want to mention that from what I know about what Keishan and the staff at SAM are doing and what they're doing with outreach to the managers at each of the member agencies, what Clemens and our team has been doing, I think it's very important that this be dealt with seriously. And from what I can tell, the team is being very diligent and diligent to the point of what could look like some kind of borderline on pushing too hard. But I want to say publicly, they need to push hard on this. I am happy to see that they're pushing hard on this. These kind of problems cannot be dealt with. Sometimes you got to go hard at it. And when the plant is being upset by things coming into the plant that it's not prepared for, you got to go upstream, find out what it is, and then go talk to whoever you need to deal with it. So I just want to offer my support for the diligent and deliberate and urgent effort that Keishan is leading. And we got to get to the bottom of this, and we got to get to it quick. Our regulators are not going to take anything less. It's going to cost money one way or the other, but let's get this done as quick as we can. So if I was a little concerned about what I saw in the paper, which didn't really seem to capture the urgency of getting to the bottom of this problem. And from where we sit, it is our duty to get to the bottom of this quickly and to deal with it post haste. So go Keishan and team.
Let me add then that Brown and Caldwell is doing a thorough job, given the kinds of problems that can come up in a hasty job. I appreciate the fact that they're doing a lot. The crew at SAM has been awesome. They have been coming in, organizing themselves and coming in at 2 in.the morning or 4 in.the morning to get done what needs to get done when it needs to get done, even though that's not their regular shift. They are really working on looking at where these problems are coming from and doing a very thorough analysis. Brown and Caldwell has brought in a specialist from the Northwest. And so I believe they are right on into what their conclusion is. It is expensive. Without the fines, we are up over $500,000. None of this has been budgeted for. And so we're going to be seeing it in our rates in what we need to do. And for our SAM bills. But as you said, Scott, this has to be done and the expense has to be done. What is, and there was a program started in 94, 95 or 95, 96 that has the implementation for a BOD, biological oxygen demand, program for source control. And so I asked Lou Wall about it, and he's amazing. I can't remember breakfast, and he can tell me all of this stuff from going on 30 years ago. But the program is there, and the solution to this is sped up by the fact that that work was done in 95, 96 or whenever. What's unfortunate is that with the turnover in general managers and so on, it didn't get followed up on. And so I think that's part of the problem is we're a little bit late to the game, but we are in the game. I have been reading the codes for Portland and for Seattle and for San Jose and San Diego. They all have source control. So it's what we're going to be doing with source control and with improving the plant oxygen will be not radical. It will be common practice. It's not experimental. And I think I think we're going to have good results.
I just want to put a little background on that. The program is called the Non-Domestic Wastewater Source Control Program. SAM has had this in place for years. Businesses, not homes, that are connected, that are discharging into the system, if they, like, for example, restaurants or any kind of manufacturing facility, they all get to be part of this because they put things into the system that are unlike what homes do. And so, like with restaurants, it involves things like checking to make sure they have a working grease trap, so they're not putting grease down the drain, because that can create a problem for everybody. So the idea is work with them and avoid things that create a problem for the system. So no matter who it is, no matter what it is they want to put down the drain, say it's a car wash, for example, work with us so that the chemicals you're using in your car wash don't wind up upsetting the plant. Upsetting the plant, as Catherine just pointed out, can cost really big money. It's a big biological organism, and if you make it sick, or worse, if you kill it, then it can't do its job. And so the crew works to keep the organism of the plant working and healthy. Something's been making it sick the past few months. It's costing a lot of money. We need to find out what it's being fed, and we need to do something about that. Don't know what to do until you know what it is, but to know what it is, you got to go look. And to go look, you look at things that are different. You look at what could be going in that we weren't prepared for. And then you go and you work with, most likely, the businesses that might be involved in this, and you work out something to keep the plant healthy. It's a matter of all working together. We're all in this together. It's a shared facility. Everybody relies on it. So nobody's really going to want Sam coming knocking on the door, talking to them about what they're doing in their business. But if you want to be hooked up and you're a non-domestic wastewater source, it's actually in the code, and those conversations may need to happen. And as Catherine pointed out, they don't happen a lot. A lot of that stuff got ironed out years ago, but it's a big deal right now. And so we're going to do our job, and Sam's going to do his job. And I'll just wrap this up by, again, thanking everybody involved. Keishan, the crew that's working long, hard, extra hours, the managers that are providing information and helping with understanding who's connected and who is or should be in the NDWSCP program, and all of that. It's big, it's complex, it's going to be a thing here, but I'm sure we're going to get to the bottom of it. All right. California Special Districts Association report. Rick, you're on mute. Rick, we can't hear you.
Stupid computer. Computer problem, not me. No CSDA meetings, and LAFCO's coming up next week. So,
All right. Thank you.
And Rick and I, well, I think Rick is, I for sure have signed up to go to the CSDA meeting in Monterey at the end of the month. It should be very interesting. I was looking at the topics, and there's a lot of similarities between the CSDA agenda and the CASA agenda.
Scott, I think you skipped the MCC.
Oh, every meeting it seems. Thank you. Let's go to the Midcoast Community Council. Greg Dieguez, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I will go quietly or quickly on SAM, which I think is the major development of the week, with the letters going out to half a dozen brewers and wineries. And apparently the board has already voted in closed session to approve alternative 1 by Brown and Caldwell.
No.
Well, that's what I've been told. So at any rate, there's an article, and
I'm just going to interrupt you there for a second, Greg. If it was a closed session vote, one, that doesn't sound like an appropriate practice.
That's right.
And 2, if it's a closed session matter and someone is violating privilege, they should not be doing that. So since you raised it, I just want to point out for the public, both of those would be inappropriate if they were to happen, but Catherine says they did not.
Okay.
There was some discussion, Greg, but no conclusion. And it has to do with potential litigation.
Yeah, potential fines. So I invite those of you who are interested to look at the article and give me any corrections, feedback. I can always make changes before we start promoting this thing. As far as regular Midcoast Community Council business, we continue to be slow in trying to get focused local governance for our priorities. There is a scoping project for $75,000 to try and help research the needs out here. Looks like that's going to take over another month to get off the ground. There's also a grant for a new fire marshal who hopefully will have Midcoast priorities. Again, that's taking a while. I hesitate to say when that will be done. And almost a year after we raised the issue with the county, it looks like they're going to form an advisory group, which will include representation from the Midcoast Community Council. But again, it still hasn't happened quite yet. And I think that's all I really need to mention right now.
If I could make a comment, I doubt if the needs have changed significantly in the last 30 years. They only get more desperate. They only get more desperate, and evacuation is something you've been working on. And that was one of the more moving things that I saw of a picture of Paradise, was all the traffic on the one road out. And the discussion in Paradise of all the dead end streets, and how the houses would, when people would start evacuating, the streets got clogged. And then getting onto the other road was an even greater car jam. So other than that, we still need all the other stuff. The county hasn't done it yet. The only way we get parks is when the community does it. The way we get water is when the community does it. I'll stop.
Greg, you had one more
I
thing?
did want to thank, I wanted to thank MWSD for putting in a submission to the local hazard mitigation plan. I'm in process of reviewing that document. The entire document is thousands of pages long, not your section. And as usual, Clemens and I will have a good chuckle over a beer about the asset valuations used in that report. But it was a good submission, so I thank you for being part of that. I'm new to this. Tanya, of course, is much more expert, but it looks to me like the entire process is a game of bureaucratic persistence. You can be dropped from the program if you don't do all the little reporting and plan update deals. But I think this is going to be a worthy effort and hopefully will result in some grant funds for the district. Many other, I didn't see El Granada or Granada Community Services District in there. I didn't see Sam in there. Remind me if you know who was going to submit for Sam. But Half Moon Bay and Pacific, though, were part of it, and they had record participation this year. I'll say dwarfing, maybe that's too strong a word, what they had had in previous years. So a lot of people have lined up for disaster and mitigation related funds.
Okay, let's move on to item number 4, the Local Agency Formation Commission report. Rick? Your computer's acting up again,
Yeah,
Rick.
computer. I'm trying to keep people from the bonging clock over here. LAFCO canceled their last meeting a month or so ago, and the next one coming up is, I believe, next week. On the side, they've issued a letter to the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. We've talked about a little bit, saying the consultants are going to be coming to talk to you and looking for information and that sort of thing. So the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, the one that's kind of under attack by the city and the developers, that case will be moving along. The forecast is probably nothing big this year. So it's going to move along slowly. So that's the only big item LAFCO's looking at right now, as far as other than the little unit by unit kind of stuff that you always do. So.
All right, thank you. Christine, anything from attorney's report?
Thanks, President Boyd. Good evening, everyone. I'll just make 1 or 2 comments about Director Slater Carter's comments about SB 9 and SB 10. Catherine did a great job on summarizing in those bills, and she's exactly right. The only other thing I would mention too that I find concerning is that in both bills, the approvals are exempt generally from the Environmental Quality Act. So the ministerial approval of in SB 10 for a parcel to have up to 10 units of residential density, ministerial approvals do not require environmental review. And then with regard to the same with SB 9, which is the bill that permits the lot split, again, those projects would be exempt from environmental review, which is really unfortunate in my opinion.
If I can add, they're also exempted specifically from the Coastal Act.
Oh, I did not see that. So that's even more wow.
And a small job this board will have is if these get passed, and Governor Newsom is supportive of these. If these get passed, I think we need to look at redoing our connection fees. so that they're based, as Greg has been talking, on the increased need in infrastructure that is required by any unit that comes in. We need to be looking to protect our water and sewer district because the state won't.
No, absolutely. And staff and I are looking at some pending applications for ADUs in the district and determining what fees and that we can and cannot charge. And the fees that we can charge may need to be revised, but
Yes.
if these bills pass, yes, that probably will come, and it will be a big decision and require a lot of input from the district's experts on our engineers. So that's exactly right. That's all I have.
Okay. Any director's reports?
Yes.
Catherine?
I went to the CASA conference. First time in the years I've been on this board that I've gone to a sewer conference.
And CASA stands for?
California Association of Sewer or Sanitation Agencies. It was like a club. I can tell you, everyone from this board would love going to this meeting because you don't have to go into a far corner to talk about sewers. Everybody wants to talk about sewers and finance and engineering and all the other stuff associated with it. Some of the things that came out of this was CASA has been instrumental. The CASA organization is small but mighty, and they work very closely with CSDA, and they've been working with CSDA on getting legislation passed for relabeling personal wipes to say so that they take the words flushable off. It's still going to take a major education on our part to teach people that what they've been doing shouldn't be done and what it costs them, but it is making progress. The major topics there were about crew and staff, the aging populations, about the difference in generations. There was some commentary about drought, but the major things that were discussed are under the umbrella of the state has decided that sewer agencies and sewer treatment should be removing things that are put in upstream. And they're asking to have processes at sewer plants put in place so that you can test for some of these things, some of which are at such low concentrations they have yet to develop the test to determine that it's above or below that concentration. What they were talking about was PFAS. And Scott, you can remember what that is. All I know is it's PFAS. What I was surprised to hear about is there are about, 1,000 different components to PFAS. And the state wants us to look at every single one of them, not just the generic. And so they're thinking that PFAS are particularly a problem for recycled water. They also want sewer plants to be removing microplastics. And some of these get pretty down teeny. They're not as small as microfibers, and that may be on the horizon. But microplastics, they think, should be removed from solid waste, as in sewer treatment too. And the last one is biosolids. biosolids is the solids that's left after all the water gets taken out. And typically it's been taken to the dump. The state legislature doesn't want that to happen anymore. They want it to be taken to spread over the ground, used agriculturally. And so the regulators are working on all of these different things for sewer plants, which gets me to what I'm going to ask the board to do as a future agenda item, and that's to encourage Sam, and Rick and I will do that too, to get a committee going on rebuilding Sam so we can put the technology in a in an appropriate format. We're dealing with 19th, 20th century technology that we're going to be doing add-ons to. This is not so good. Sam needs to start the planning process now. We need to have a board meeting to find out what the high priorities of SAM are, cost, and that kind of thing. This would be when the lawsuit's over, but we need to get on that so we can start planning for the next 20 years for future boards to have a roadmap of where we're going with SAM. One of the things I really want to see is an honest assessment of the hazards that are on this coast side and how, and the coming hazards. There's sea level rise, there's earthquakes, there's tsunamis, there's liquefaction. We've got all kinds of fun things just in this little teeny space on the coast. And we need to be looking at how to best accommodate the needs of a community to be able to have a sewers running in the event of any of these catastrophes. But it was very interesting. There's going to be another meeting in January in Palm Springs, and I'm going to see if I can't go to it because this was I learned a lot. It's nice to get up out of our little enclave and see what even the biggest agencies are trying to deal with.
I'm very excited that they're talking about detecting, measuring, monitoring for the perfluorochemicals that you're talking about. These are fluorine-based chemicals. They're complex organic compounds, and they're used. The one PFAS that you mentioned, that was the principal ingredient, you might remember, in Scotchgard. So spray something with Scotchgard to make it water repellent, and then you wash it. Some of the Scotchgard comes off, goes down the sewer system. These chemicals, these perfluorochemicals, were added to the Stockholm Convention in 2009 as persistent organic pollutants. These are not things that you solve the problem by spreading it out over the soil. These are things you don't want to spread out over the soil. They are pollutants. So I think that's great. I remember going to to a recycled water conference many years ago, talking about the pollutants of emerging concern, because there are pollutants. Everything you buy at the grocery store, the drugstore, much of what you buy at the hardware store, any of it that goes down the drain, like sunscreen that you wash off your body, or prescription medicine that you take, much of it just passes straight through your system. It does its job on the way through, and then you flush it and you send it on to the sewer authority, where we're going to clean it up, including all of the really great new things that Genentech and Amgen and others are coming up with, some of which are designed to not biodegrade. So it's really good that CASA is talking about this. It's going to be a long haul to get on top of it, but Catherine, thank you for going and sharing this with us. Do we have any other directors' reports? If not, general manager's report?
No report, thanks.
Okay. Well, I'm going to thank everyone for coming. We are going to take a brief recess and then reconvene in closed session for 4 items. Conference with legal counsel on existing litigation where Half Moon Bay is suing all of its neighbors. Anticipated litigation, 1 potential case, existing litigation, MWSD versus the Dow Chemical Company, and then a conference involving a joint powers agency, sewer authority, mid-coast side. And this is listed as conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And then when we come out of closed session, we'll report any actions, any reportable actions taken by the board. All right, so with that, our thanks for everyone for joining. And
Night night.
let's reconvene in say 5 minutes at 8:39.